Thank you. Please be seated. Does the plaintiff have another witness, Ms. Bryan?
Yes, Your Honor, that would be Mr. Chalupka's witness.
Yes, Your
Mr.
Honor.
Chalupka.
The state of Ohio will call Sergeant George Peters to stand.
Okay. Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear you testify the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Please have a seat here. Please speak in the microphone. And thank you, Mr. Chalupka.
How are you today, Sergeant?
Fine.
May you please state and spell your name for the record?
George M. Peters, P-E-T-E-R-S.
And are you employed?
Yes.
And what are you currently employed as?
City of Cleveland Division of Police.
How long have you been with the city of Cleveland as a police officer?
Over 26 years.
What are you currently, where are you currently stationed within the city of Cleveland Police?
3rd District Downtown Service Unit.
And how long have you been with the downtown service unit?
I believe 5 years.
Were you with the downtown service unit on the night of November 29th, 2012?
Yes.
And what were you doing on that evening?
I was the supervisor in charge of that shift.
Now, specifically around 10:30 at night, do you recall what you were personally doing?
I was in a patrol vehicle in the parking lot of 2100 Payne Avenue. I had a new employee, and I was showing him how to work the onboard camera systems of our DSU cars.
So those cars do have dash cams?
Yes.
And was it a marked car?
Yes.
And now, while you're doing this, does anything come over the radio?
Yes, I started hearing radio traffic of pursuit being started.
And what do you do when that occurs?
I monitor it and try to get the ascertain what is pursued, what caused it, where is it at, and where it is at that time.
Were you explaining this to the new patrolman?
No.
Now, when this is going on, did you determine what was happening with the pursuit?
I heard traffic, radio traffic. Sergeant Shepard, who was the sector supervisor of that area, question on the air of what is going on. And I believe he got incomplete answers, so he terminated it.
Now, what radio channel are you listening to?
Channel 3.
Now, did you give any orders over the Channel 3 radio?
I concurred with Sergeant Shepard's orders.
Who did you give those orders to?
To my downtown service unit personnel.
That were directly under your command?
Correct.
But now, is this how the policy operates for terminating a chase?
That year or this year?
Back in 2012.
Yes.
Now, were you ever at the Heritage Middle School in East Cleveland?
Never.
Did you do anything else on that night involving the results of this chase?
Yes, I responded to Ontario Avenue, St. Clair Avenue between Ontario and West 3rd. We blocked off the streets to see if there's any evidence or shell cases that might have, or evidence that would be in that area.
Now, did you oversee this?
Yes.
And what prompted you to shut down the area around the Justice Center?
That was the area where the shot was heard.
And do you know if anything was recovered while you were searching the area?
No.
That's going to come out wrong. Was anything recovered?
Was it taken into evidence?
Yeah.
No.
Pardon my interruption.
Now, you say that you did not hear the beginning of the chase, or the radio traffic regarding the beginning of the chase.
No.
Correct.
No.
Are you aware how the chase was started?
Yes.
And how was that?
I believe there were some officers on St. Clair working on a car's computer.
Were you aware of the specific officers?
Yes.
And who were they?
Officer Nan and Officer Alameda.
Now, if you had been in chases before in your career, correct?
I have, yes.
About how many?
Maybe 5 or 6.
So you're aware of everything surrounding, and obviously you stated what goes into determining to call off the chase or allow the chase to continue, correct?
Objection. I'm not sure I know exactly what's being asked. You're asking him, did he allow a chase in the past to be continued?
Just in general, he knows the policy.
Well, let's establish that. Are you aware, or were you aware as of November 29 of that year, generally of the pursuit policy of the CPD?
Yes.
Pardon the interruption.
And now, was the information broadcasted over the radio this particular evening?
Objection.
I don't know the
What
basis of the
information?
objection. Do you mean what information? I mean, is that your objection? Or
Well, that, and also, this sergeant making the call, someone else in the second district was involved.
Well, you can cross-examine him about that, but I want to make sure I understand the question. You're asking, was his decision jointly, apparently, with Shepard to decide to have the third district officer stop pursuing? Was that part of
Yes,
the
Your Honor.
Right. That objection is overruled. So, did I hear you correctly that you and Shepard, actually Shepard of the third district, called off, and you agreed?
Yes.
So who called it off?
Sergeant Shepard.
Once you agreed, well, how did you hear him? How did you know he called it off?
Because he said he terminated it
Over the radio.
for the third district cars, yes.
And then did you call third district cars and say something like, I agree, let's call this off?
I don't recall my exact words, but I wanted my people to know that his ruling was mine.
Okay.
That's,
Pardon my interruption.
You know, after you concurred with this order, what did you do after that?
I continued patrolling my area, and I went, I believe, to Superior and 25th Street.
Was it possible for you to monitor the chase in any way?
Yes,
And how did you do that?
on my onboard AVL system.
And what did that show you?
Shows you location of the cars in the city of Cleveland.
Could you see your cars this evening?
Yes.
Were all your officers accounted for?
No.
Do you recall who was not accounted for?
I believe Officer Bettner and Alaska.
Now, knowing that you are now aware of how the chase began, given your experience in chases before, you would have still made the call to not allow your officers to continue pursuing, correct?
Objection.
Are you asking him, knowing what he knows as of today, would he have made the same decision?
Yes.
Overruled, I guess.
Yes.
And why is that?
Objection. Your Honor, so it's clear what, I don't mean to speak, but if there's confusion why I'm objecting, I'm happy to
Well,
answer.
here's what I know from this witness. He had some information, so did Shepard. Are we going to hear from Shepard later, do you think, at some point?
Possibly, Your Honor.
All right, so he and a fellow sergeant of the 3rd District had some information. Based on that information, they decided to terminate their officers. I'm not sure if we really need to know would he have done the same thing now, especially since, although he hasn't been asked this, it's likely he's aware of more facts now than he wasn't that night. So perhaps a different subject.
Why did you call your people off on the evening of November 29, 2012?
Because Sergeant Shepard had, he was a sector supervisor, and a sector supervisor overrides a unit supervisor. So I was concurring with him per my understanding of the GPO.
Now, today, are you aware who was the initial officer to announce that there was a chase that was going to begin, or had begun?
Objection, Your Honor.
Overruled, if you know.
Officer Alameda and Nan.
And now, what is your impression of those officers after working with them for so long?
They're hardworking policemen.
Is there anything pursuant to their personalities that would have given you caution to call off the chase?
Well, all officers have different skill levels and perceptions of things. I think that a supervisor should always take into account that when he takes information.
And if you had heard those initial officers broadcast over the radio, particularly Officer Nan, would you have taken that into account in your decision to call off the chase?
There's always considerations, yeah.
What considerations would you have taken, given it being Officer Nan?
I don't understand.
Anything personally about Officer Nan and his reputation to you as a police officer, but do you regard him as an officer, and would that come into your decision to call off the chase if you had that knowledge?
Sustained. So you can wait for the next question.
Now, you had stated that officer disregarded your orders, two of them, Officer Laska and Officer Breckner.
And Sanderson and Davis.
Now, what occurred to those officers due to their disobedience?
They were disciplined.
Are you aware of what their discipline was?
I mean,
Overall,
I believe they were suspended.
For how long?
I don't recall the days, but there was a suspension, I believe.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Chaluka. Do you have any cross-exam, Mr. D'Angelo?
A few questions, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Sergeant.
Captain DeAndre.
Sergeant, the name of the unit that you supervise is the Downtown Services Unit.
Correct.
Specifically, what is that a specialized unit or how would you characterize what that unit does?
It's a support unit.
Support unit within the 3rd District?
Correct.
Specifically designated for what areas?
Geographically, the downtown area, within the freeway system, and I believe about 30th Street East and the River West.
And many times giving special attention to the warehouse district area and also public square area where the casino is located.
Correct.
So your mission is more specifically designated to service in those areas?
Correct.
In this particular case, you made the determination to call out the 3rd District DSU unit officers, correct?
Correct.
And you did that, correct?
Correct.
Were you aware that the 2nd District was still in pursuit?
Yes.
Did you contact 2nd District Supervision and indicate anything to those supervisors?
No.
To your knowledge, did Sergeant Shepard contact 2nd District supervisory personnel and advise them of anything?
I don't know.
Okay. Were you aware of the fact that 2nd District supervisors were involved in this pursuit?
Yes.
Meaning at the time, or you since learned that?
At the time.
Pardon the English.
That's all I have, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. D'Angelo. Do you have any redirect based on that, Mr. Chaluka?
Your Honor.
Sure.
Would you be able to explain to the court the rules and the time, or the general police orders at the time of the chase regarding who could and how to call off the police chase?
Objection, Your Honor.
Well, it is beyond the scope of the cross-exam, but we can listen to it, so overrule.
It's a 14-page document, I believe, so I'll do the best I can, but without it in front of me, I can only do what I can remember.
That's fine. Would you please explain to us how you would be able to call off a particular district, whether it be the 3rd, the DSU, or the 2nd District?
Is that a question?
Yeah. Which officers could you call off under the policy?
Under the policy, I believe my own.
Were you able to call off under the policy any other officers, say the 2nd District?
In that year of this incident?
Yes.
I don't believe so, no.
Now, since you had called your officers off the chase, was it part of the policy to go back down to where the chase began and search the area?
Well, it always be that's where, as I understood, that's where it all transpired. So it'd be just logical to go back and secure that scene.
And
Once I learned of the gravity of the situation, it became paramount, I believe, to go there and to see if there's any, secure the initial crime scene.
And for approximately how long was the area warded off, and how long did you and your officers search the area?
Probably an hour.
In connection with that same question, what time did you close it off and start the search? About?
I believe the search had, this event had come to a climax.
So everything had ended up in East Cleveland, and after that it was decided, let's search St. Clair between Ontario and Western.
Correct.
Pardon my interruption.
And how many officers were with you during the search? Approximately.
We, for 4 or 5 of us, held it down till Detective Neal arrived.
And now, would you walk the court through exactly what you did during the search?
First off,
Yeah, I think if the objection is that this is beyond the scope of the cross, it's well taken, but let's hear it. So in other words, as an academic matter, sustained; as a practical matter, overruled.
Could you please walk the court through the steps that you and your officers took in searching and wardening off the area outside the Justice Center?
yeah, we positioned our cars to direct all traffic around it. And then we walked around.
That was it?
That was it.
And your search resulted in finding nothing?
We found something we thought was a shell casing, but Detective Neal determined it was road trash.
I'm sorry, could you say the name again?
Detective Neal,
Spell it.
I'm not a good speller. Just like
Like a Happy Meal at McDonald's?
I think it's M-E-I-L, Your Honor.
Now, get a little bit more specific, would you please? How did the officers walk up and down the road together? How was the lighting? Could you maybe just go a little bit further into how your search was conducted?
well, it was well after 10 o'clock. It was, the winter season. We basically blocked off the street and looked best we could with flashlights, with the ambient light of the street lights.
And how were the officers positioned during the search? As in, how did they walk down the street looking?
I don't know, walking with their eyes down, flashlights. I mean, we didn't get on our hands and knees. We were just walking up and down the street looking for shell casings or anything that might indicate a shot was fired.
And why were you doing the search again?
We were looking for any evidence of the shooting that may have occurred at that location. That's where the first report was that a gunfire was heard.
No further questions, Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chalupka. Anything based on what's been asked since you last inquired, Mr. DeAndre?
Briefly, Your Honor. Sergeant Peters, did you specifically go back to Ontario and St. Clair because of follow-up information that a shot may have been fired at that location and you were directed to go there to look for any physical evidence? Or did you just do that on your own initiative?
I don't know if it was suggested by other officers at the time, or it was kind of a group decision, but yeah, it was after I think the gravity of what had happened made it paramount that we go there and secure that.
Okay. So this is going back in time approximately 2 years. The incident in East Cleveland took place around 11 p.m. So reflecting back, do you have an approximation as to what time you actually went back to Ontario and St. Clair?
Well, it was probably unsecured from the initial call.
Which was approximately 10:30, 10:35, something like that.
Right. We started getting information of the gravity of what happened.
When you mean gravity, you're talking about after the shooting in East Cleveland?
Correct, after the shooting, and
Would you agree in your mind that means after 11 p.m. you're starting to get information?
yes,
Okay.
yes.
And so continue. In terms of what was going on in your mind to try to fix the time for us, is when you approximately went back to Ontario and St. Clair and searched around?
That would have been after the shots had been fired in East Cleveland.
Within a half hour? Within an hour? More than that?
I think upon hearing that, we all gravitated to that area.
Okay. So I think a fair summary, correct me if I'm wrong, would be you don't have a specific recollection as to what time it was, but you think you went back there in a reasonable amount of time.
Yes,
And something was found, Officer Meal, who was from the crime scenes unit, observed it and evidently found it to be of no consequence, correct?
correct.
Were you present when Officer Meal observed the material and made that judgment?
Yes,
Okay. Would it be fair to say, though, that it was never preserved and then later tested to see what it was?
correct.
And would you further agree that a shell casing would be ejected from a semi-automatic, like a 9mm, correct?
Correct.
Would there be a shell casing if someone fired from a revolver?
No, not usually.
You spoke as to the policy on November 29, 2012, that your understanding of that document back then was that you did not have authority to call off other personnel outside of the 3rd District downtown service, correct?
Correct.
And the same would apply to the 3rd District Sector Supervisor, Sergeant Shepard?
Correct.
And I'm not by any way implying anything, but I wanted to ask you that the fact remains that whatever happened, your actions are clear as to what you did, right?
Correct.
And part of that is you did not get on radio, whether it's on the 3rd District TAC channel or 2nd District channel, and confer with any 2nd District supervisory personnel to tell them whatever you wanted to tell them, correct?
Correct.
And again, there's no criticism implied in that. I have nothing further to add.
Thank you, Mr. D'Angelo. Sir, appreciate you coming down here.
One more question, Your Honor.
We can't go on forever. I mean, appreciate it. Your excuse. This is trace evidence coming up. Ms. Royster?
Yes. Thank you. Your Honor, we're actually going to have BCI and Natasha Britton.
Oh, okay. That's fine. Go off the record for a second. Excuse me. Well, we can't go off the record for too long. That's the story. He could, last time it happened, he worked with the guy while we were still on the record. You ready, Mark? All right, so we're back on the record, and Ms. Royster. Do you solemnly swear you testify to the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? All right, watch all that equipment. Please have a seat here. And kindly speak in the microphone. Thank you, Ms. Royster.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome.
Good afternoon, Ms. Branham. Could you please state your full name and spell it for the record?
Natasha Ann Brelo, NATASHAANNBRANAM,
And with whom are you currently employed?
Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigation.
How long have you been with, is it okay if I refer to it as BCI?
Yes,
Which BCI office are you employed with?
the Richfield office.
Richfield? How long have you been with BCI?
Coming up on 6 years.
And what is your current position within BCI?
I work in the cyber crimes unit as a computer forensic specialist.
Have you worked in cyber crimes as a computer
Forensic specialist.
forensic specialist for the entire 6 years you've been there?
Yes, I have.
What type of work do you do?
I collect and preserve digital evidence that's submitted to the lab.
And when you say digital evidence, does that include cell phone information?
Yes, cell phone, laptops, digital cameras, GPSs.
How are your assignments usually given to you?
It depends. Sometimes we're on a rotation. Sometimes if a CFS needs a case to be worked, then they'll get assigned one.
So is it fair to say that November into December of 2012, you were still working in that same department?
Yes, I was.
Still with the Richfield office?
Yes, I was.
And still doing the same type of work?
Correct.
You are aware of the reason that you're here today, correct?
Yes, I am.
Can you please tell the court how you got the assignment as it relates to the November 29, 2012 incident?
The cell phones came in. There were a total of 5 cell phones, and I was the first available CFS to work them.
Okay. So you were the one available at the time, so you got the assignment.
Correct.
And did they come with any instructions, what they wanted you to do with the cell phones?
3 out of the 5 came in on consent. It was pretty much all 5 were a typical cell phone dump. Whatever information could be taken off the phone is what they wanted.
What is a cell phone dump?
Depending on the cell phone, we use forensic software to extract the data off the phone and then give it to the investigator.
So it was your job to pull whatever information was on those phones off?
Yes,
And did you write reports outlining what you did with each of those phones?
I did.
And I know that you said there were 5 cell phones. How many reports did you write?
I wrote 4.
4.
4 reports.
So one report contained 2 phones.
Correct.
Sure, yeah, thank you.
I'm handing you what has been previously marked as State's Exhibit 1192 through 1195. Can you look at each one and tell us by exhibit number what those are?
Exhibit 1192 is the report for Aaron O'Donnell's cell phone. 1193 is the report for Christopher Erig's cell phone. 1194 is the report for James Hummel's cell phone. And 1195 is the report for the 2 cell phones that were taken from the scene.
And the other cell phones had names, the 2 cell phones that were taken from the scene. At that time, did you have names of who they went to?
No, I was just told they came out of off the scene.
I want to start you with State's Exhibit 1192, which is the report that you wrote for Aaron O'Donnell's cell phone. What type of cell phone was that you retrieved?
It was a Samsung manufacturer mobile phone, model number SCHI405, commonly known as a Stratosphere, an Android device.
Okay, and was that a search warrant or consent to search?
It was a consent to search.
So walk us through. What is one of the first things that you do when you get the phone?
Once we receive the phone and I receive the consent to search, I place the phone in airplane mode, so there's no incoming or outgoing text messages or calls able to hit the phone, and then I extracted the data from the phone.
Why is it important to put it in airplane mode at that time?
Typically with the phones, we want to take them off the network, so there's no, if someone's calling in or trying to send a wipe command to the phone, it doesn't reach it, to preserve the state of the phone as when we got it.
Okay. And when you go through the cell phones and retrieve different information from them, is it separated into different categories, or how do you label each type of information?
Once the data is extracted from the phone, I go through and I place it into what ends up being my attachments. Call history, text messages, calendar events, web history are usually put into an Excel spreadsheet. Graphic files, video files, and voicemails are separate attachments. MMS messages are typically a separate attachment as well.
What are MMS messages?
MMS messages are a text message with either a graphic file, audio file, video file, or it could be an extended text message. It goes into the one of two text messages.
Okay. Did you say, excuse me, SMS as well?
SMS is a typical text message. It's, I believe it's 124 characters. It's just straight text.
Referring you to Erin O'Donnell's report that you wrote for her cell phone, you list attachment B. What would that be?
Attachment B contained 101 MMS messages that was stored upon her phone.
And do you separate or do you outline anything? Were you told to separate?
I was asked to separate or note anything that fell in time in between a certain time frame. In this case, it was November 29th, 2012 at 2200 hours to December 4th, 2012 at 14:30 hours.
And would that be an MMS message?
Yes, within the MMS message, attachment B, I noted that messages 1 through 5 occurred during that time frame.
And the information that we were just talking about, that you store as a cell phone dump, did you put that information onto anything?
Yes, once I separate the data into my attachments, I bring them to a CD and or DVD.
I want to make sure I understood you, so if I could paraphrase. For the period November 29, 2200, 10 o'clock p.m., through December 4, 14:30, you found 5 messages.
Correct.
5 text messages with attachments.
Correct.
Pardon my interruption, Ms. Reister.
And these 5 messages that you found, were those the ones that you were specifically looking for as it relates to this incident, or?
It just fell between that time frame.
Handing you what has been previously marked as State's Exhibit 1199. Can you please identify what that is?
This is the CD or DVD that I made for attachments A through E.
And what A through E? What person's information was that?
That is for my report for Erin O'Donnell's cell phone.
And going back to your report where you say attachment B, would that be labeled on the disc as attachment B?
Yes, it is.
And you also list message 1 through 5. We're talking about, as it appears on here, 1 through 5.
Correct.
So within that disk, if you hit on attachment B, message 2, it has a date of 12/4/2012. And it says text B card. What is that?
The text B card is a contact information that was sent to her.
And what is the MMS2 that's listed above?
That's the message details as it was stored on the phone.
Now, I just opened that, and I see here it says from Jeff Fulmer with the telephone number. What does that indicate?
That V card came from that phone number.
From Jeff Fulmer? Is that phone number next to it?
Yes.
And I'm clicking the box underneath. What does that indicate?
It gives the address for the VCI Richfield office, I believe a phone number as well.
Since there's only 5, I'm going to click through.
Well, before you do, let's just, if I can, just, as the finder of fact, make sure I understand what you're getting into. So what you were just showed essentially was a text message from Jeff Fulmer to Aaron O'Donnell on December 3rd at 11:47 p.m. giving BCI's address?
You would have to click on the MM2 text file. Yes, it was sent December 3rd, 2012 at 11:47:15 p.m.
And the attachment was the V card,
Correct.
and the V card was somebody's info at BCI, or it was Fulmer's info.
No, the V card is a contact information. The
For-
contact
okay.
information is for the BCI Richfield office.
Okay. Thank you for your patience, Ms. Royster.
We're going under MMS 1. It looks like there is the correct word picture attachment or graph?
I call them graphic files, but it's a picture.
Is that something that was also retrieved from the phone within that date?
Objection.
Overruled.
Yes, it was.
Actually, so, okay. You're about to ask her these questions then?
Correct.
All right.
And what is it that we're seeing on the same thing right underneath it on the notepad?
We have the date and time, the folder's in an inbox, so it's an incoming message. It gives the attachment, which is the picture file name. It's
That we
from
just saw?
that we just saw from a Marjorie Saltz with the phone number behind it and a message.
MMS number 3, looks like there's only one document. What are we seeing here?
You got a date of December 3rd, 2012 at 10:15:19 p.m. It's an inbox, so it's an incoming MMS, and the message says Channel 5 from Chris Egrig.
Chris E-R-E-G?
Correct.
MMS number 4. One moment. What are we seeing here?
You have a date of December 3rd, 2012 at 10:10 p.m. Folder is an inbox, so it's an incoming message from Chris Egrig with a message.
And MMS number 5.
You have the date of December 1st, 2012 at 12:23:50 a.m. Inbox. So it's an incoming text message from Chris Ereg again with a message. If you go up to view, or you should be able to word wrap that around. There you go.
Okay. Okay. So that's the message we're getting from.
Correct.
Now, in that same report for Aaron O'Donnell, you also list attachment D. What does attachment D contain?
Attachment D contains 658 graphic files, 12 video files that were stored on the micro SD card within that phone.
Did you make note of 2 attachments?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, there was also an attachment E, which contained 2 graphic files that occurred depicting the scene on November 29th, 2012.
You said that's under attachment E.
Correct.
So if I'm following your report the way you've written it correctly, under attachment D, you would list all of the graphic files.
Correct.
And in their specific ones, you may give them a different attachment number as you did here with attachment E.
Correct.
Opening attachment E, under a photo that says 11/29/2012, 2300. Is that one of the attachments you listed that you said show the scene?
Correct.
Now, is there a way to tell if this was received or if it was received in as a message or if it was sent out as a message?
Those did not appear in the MMS messages. I can't say for sure if it was ever sent, with it being stored on the SD card, and it also shows that it was taken with that phone.
So this shows that this photo was actually taken with this phone.
Correct.
And the second of the 2 attachments that was on this phone. What about this photo? Was this photo also taken from that phone, or was it received in as a message?
Yes, that photo was also stored on the micro SD card within the phone, and the XF data indicates that it was taken with the cell phone.
So taken with that cell phone. Moving you to State's Exhibit 1193, the cell phone information for Christopher Eric. What type of phone is this?
This phone was an Apple manufacturer mobile phone model A1349, which is an iPhone 4.
And was this consent or was it search warrant?
This phone was also on a consent.
Now, did you take the information from this phone and put it onto some kind of disk as you did Aaron O'Donnell's?
Yes, I also put the attachments for this phone on a CD DVD.
Handing you what has been previously marked as State's Exhibit 1197. Can you identify what that is?
This is the CD DVD that I made for the attachments for Chris Eric's phone.
Okay. And
It contains attachments L through L.
I'm sorry, L through.
Oh.
looking at your report for Christopher Eric, can you tell us what attachment L is?
Attachment L contains 17 spreadsheets that detailed information from his phone. They included calendar events, calendar tasks, call history, contacts, device accounts, device app usage, device general information, device keyboard cache, device network information, location history, location searches, message chats, message status updates, MMS messages, web bookmarks, web history, and web searches.
So this would all be in the spreadsheet form?
Correct.
What about attachment M?
Attachment M contained 38 calendar notes that were stored on his phone.
Did you note any special calendar notes?
I did. Calendar notes 32 through 34 occurred between November 29th, 2012, 2200 hours, and December 6th, 2012 at 1715 hours.
32 through 34, and what attachment would that be under?
That's under attachment M.
Looking at attachment M, has 38 attachments on here, correct?
Yes,
And you make note of 32 through 34.
correct.
Looking at attachment 32, what is this here?
A summary of question marks that was created December 12th, 2012 at 8:32:07 p.m. Yes.
Calendar note 33, was that
The summary, when I read it, it indicates a summary of events. It was created December 3rd, 2012 at 7:49:50 p.m.
This calendar of events, you said, is December 3rd, that this is noted for, correct?
Correct.
And it has a number of things printed out here. Can you read what's on there?
Calendar note number 33, summary. Numerous times throughout the chase, I heard he's pointing a weapon out the back window. He rammed a police car. He's reloading his weapon. Text. Numerous times throughout the chase, I heard he's pointing a weapon out the back window. He rammed a police car. He's reloading his weapon. Someone yelled over the radio, he's shooting at police. Crash. Police officers on the ground. Shots being fired. Window being shot. Bullet holes.
And what's the date of this note?
December 3rd, 2012, 7:49:50 p.m.
Now, when we're talking about a note, are we talking about somebody just typing something into like a Word document?
Or notepad, note app on the phone.
Okay. So if I wanted to remember something, whether it's something I said or someone told me, I can just go on my phone and write a note up.
Correct.
And what dates were you told to look? What was the date of the incident? Do you recall?
The date of the incident was November 29th, 2012.
Okay. And this note was created on December 3rd?
Correct.
Looking at note 34, you just put that in there because it fell within a date?
Correct.
But before you do, I noticed that for this one and 33, the summary and the text were the same. Does the machine save the summary going off like the first certain number of words? You wouldn't imagine that the user typed that in twice.
Correct. Going off of like how Word saves, if you don't change it, it takes the first certain amount of characters.
Okay. So, if you've answered my question, thank you. And pardon me, Ms. Royster.
Going further into the report, can you tell us about attachment N?
Attachment N contained 1,313 graphic files, 73 video files, and I also noted that 2 of the images appear to depict the scene that occurred on November 29, 2012, and those are appended for review as attachment O.
Attachment O?
Oh.
And you said you noted that 2 of them?
Correct.
Now, under attachment O, you see a number of images.
Correct.
What are we seeing here?
If you go up to view and go to thumbnail or large icon, you see there's 2, I call them graphic files, but there's multiple of the same pictures.
Looking at what's referenced as image 1230-2, looking at that photo, is that something that was taken with that phone, or was it sent or received?
The XF data for that image appeared to be taken with the iPhone 4.
So that was taken with that phone. Looking at the next image, which is IMG 1230, is that taken with that phone, or was that sent or received?
These, if you back up, there was a spreadsheet that would detail where the pictures were located on the phone, and I could answer that question.
You need to step down. Can you see it from there, or would you like-
I can see from there. It would be located in the past section.
One moment.
Sure.
It would be in which section?
I believe it was column D, the path.
I'm looking at the right thing.
Yeah, yes. So right there, it indicates that IMG _ 1230 image was stored within the media. So that one was not sent.
Okay. But it was taken with the phone.
Correct.
And it looks like we have 2, the same information. What about this one right here?
That one right there, the file path indicated, it's in the SMS attachment, so it would have been either sent or received from the phone. I can't tell with the path,
Okay, so you can't tell with that path.
no.
Looking at IMG 1231, was this taken with the phone or received or sent? Can you tell from anything here?
My report indicates all the pictures. The XF data identifies them being taken with an iPhone 4.
Oh, with an iPhone 4.
Correct.
I'm just going to scroll through the photos. So this is IMG 3937, IMG 4430, IMG 5211, IMG 9014, and we're back at the beginning.
Well, hold on a second, then, if you're about to move from that. There are 8 pictures in that array, right?
Correct.
In reality, though, are there only 2 originals, and then some were saved as copies because they were sent or stored in another folder?
Correct.
Pardon my interruption.
And you said the originals were shown to be taken with the iPhone 4 phone.
Yes, as indicated in column C, you have all the XF data, which indicates an iPhone 4 took them.
Referring to State's Exhibit 1194, so I can use the phone records for James Hummel. Can you tell us what type of phone this is?
It is an Apple manufactured model A1429, which is known as an iPhone 5.
iPhone 5. Now tell us about attachment P. What is that?
It contains 7 spreadsheets that detail the information from the phone, and they include calendar events, calendar notes, call history, contacts, device general information, device network information, and SMS messages.
I'm handing you what has been previously marked as State's Exhibit 1196. Can you take a look at that and tell us what it is?
This is the CD DVD I made for attachments P through S, which contains James Hummel's data from his phone.
What is attachment Q?
Attachment Q contains 19 MMS messages that were located on his phone.
And did you make a special note?
I did. MMS messages 1 through 7 contain the graphic image that appeared to depict the scene from November 29th, 2012.
And what is that stored under?
Attachment R.
And you state in here attachment 1 through 7.
Correct.
How is that identified over here? So see 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Is there an attachment 1 somewhere?
The MMS messages are attachment Q. The pictures associated with them are attachment R.
Back to attachment Q. So it would be 1 through 7
Correct.
in attachment Q. There appears to be photographs here as well, correct?
Correct.
So this is where I would get the information from. So I'm hitting on IMG 5527. Are you able to tell whether that message was taken with, the picture was taken with the phone, or was it sent or received?
The XF data for these pictures indicated an iPhone 5 system.
Okay, which would be the information for this phone.
Yes, this phone's an iPhone 5.
Does that mean that this phone took it, or someone with an iPhone 5 sent it?
It could be either.
Okay. So with this one, with the iPhone 5, explain to us.
If you go to the text document that is also within that attachment, it indicates that this is in the sent folder. So that tells me that it was sent from the phone.
So when you're looking at 2 and matched right here, which one is the sender and which one is the receiver?
You have the from, the phone number, which would be from that iPhone to the sender. The two matches is just the way that the software pulled the information. Jim Hummel is the owner, is this phone. So the from number is Jim Hummel, and then the 2 would be the Cora Harris.
Okay, so they just
Hummel.
listed kind of backwards.
Yes.
To Cora Hummel, and it's from Jim Hummel.
Correct.
And that would be these images right here, correct?
Only one image was sent. When you send a picture with an iPhone, what it does within its file system, it creates a preview. It pretty much shrinks it down so it's a sendable format. So when we extract the data from the phone, we as an examiner get two pictures. We get a big one and a small one.
So when we're looking at IMG 5527 and IMG 5527 preview right, it's actually the same photo.
Correct.
Looking at MMS number 2, starting with the MMS message information, what is this telling us?
It's also located in the sent folder. Once again, from Jim Humble's phone to a Ray O'Connor.
So this time it's switched around, but the numbers, the from, is still the same telephone number from Jim Hummel
Correct.
to Ray O'Connor.
Correct.
And this would be the photo IMG 7933.
Correct.
And as you told us before, there's going to be 2 images of the same, different
Correct.
sizes. MMS number 3. Is this also telling us that it's from Jim Hummel
Correct.
to Ray O'Connor?
Correct.
And this is IMG 6090,
Correct.
which is the same as IMG 6090 preview, right?
Correct.
MMS number 4. It's like from Jim Hummel to Ray O'Connor.
Correct.
IMG 6275. Smaller version IMG 6275 preview, right?
Correct.
And MMS number 5. Also looks like from Jim Hummel to Ray O'Connor.
Correct.
And that's IMG 4830 and IMG 4830 preview, right?
Correct.
Now, where would text message information be stored at?
Attachment P.
And where would the text message information be? Under which one of these categories?
It would be EV20 SMS messages.
So if we wanted to look at text messages, they would all come under here.
Correct.
And just to make, and all of this will be contained on the disk
Correct.
that I showed you.
Correct.
And just to make sure that we understand it, the from column A, would that be the telephone number that's from?
Yes.
I think I can open it all the way here, but. And there's a 2, is that the telephone number that is sent to?
Correct.
There's another box labeled 2 under D, is that the person
Correct.
that is sent to
Yes.
or coming from? There's a section E, is a message, would that be the actual text message?
Yes, it would be.
And we have a top.
Oh, actually, hold on. You said column D is going to or coming from. That's vastly different. Okay. Column D is the identity of the recipient of whatever message was sent.
Correct. D is the owner of the phone number of C. If you want the from, would be column B, is the owner of the phone number from column A.
Okay, I think I see. Like we have Twitter, which
Correct.
would be a website. We have Jim Hummel's name in column B.
Correct. So he is sending something to whatever number was in C.
Okay. So if we're looking for messages that Jim Hummel sent, we look at column B.
Correct.
Okay. Pardon the interruption, Ms. Richards.
No problem. Thank you, Your Honor. Column F, would that be the time?
Yes.
Is that the time as it relates to sent or received, or just the time of that whole message?
Can you go all the way back up to the top?
Sure.
Typically, it would be the time that it was received.
Okay. So it's UTC, say for instance, looking at column number 16. In section F, it's 11/27/2012. There's a time, and it says UTC device.
Correct. That is the time that is stored on the device. So it would be the local time.
So what about if I'm looking under that in column 17? It says 11/27/2012, a time in UTC network.
It would be taking the time from the network.
What are we talking about when we say network?
His service provider was Verizon Wireless, so it would be their network time.
Okay. And in column G, we see whether we see sent
Correct.
or whether something was read.
That's the status.
Okay.
So if it's an outgoing text message, it would say sent. If it's an incoming, it would have read or unread.
Okay. One moment, Your Honor.
Sure.
So looking here, column 148, same thing, looking under section F, we have 11/29, 2012, we have a time, and we said it was stored under his network, correct?
Well, it's stored on his phone. It's getting the date and time from the network.
And what does column H mean when we see device?
That's where, if you go all the way to the top, I just want to make sure that's telling you where it was stored.
Okay, column I says folder. What is that telling us?
Typically, you have 3 folders within SMS. You have read or inbox, sent, and drafts.
And then there's an entry ID. What does that mean?
That is the unique identifier that is the phone assigns to that text message.
Okay. And looking at your report, attachment S, what would that be?
Attachment S contained 2 video files, 90 voicemails, and 595 graphic files that were stored on the phone.
And lastly, referring your attention to State's Exhibit 1195. This is the report that was done in which you do not have names. 2 phones from the scene, is that correct?
Correct.
And with the information that you received from that phone, did you also store that on a disk?
I did.
Handing you what has been previously marked as State's Exhibit 1198. Can you identify what that is?
It's my attachments, F through K, for my report dealing with the 2 phones that came from the scene.
Can you tell us what type of phone the 2 phones were?
What I labeled as evidence item 2 was an LG manufacturer mobile phone, model number LG BN150PP, which was a standard flip phone. Evidence item 3 is a Kyocera manufacturer mobile phone, model number 10R727A01, which was just a frame like a brick phone.
Brick phone. For the previous phones that we just discussed, that of Officer Hummel, Officer Eric, and Officer O'Donnell, what was the condition of those phones when you received them? Were they in good working condition?
Yes, they were.
Okay. Now, for this LG phone, the flip phone, and the brick phone, which you described as EV3, what were the conditions of those phones?
I believe one of them had blood on it, and the other one was soaked in urine.
Did you inquire as to the urine that was soaked on the phone?
I questioned on what the liquid was. I was informed that it was urine, and then I was told that once a body is deceased, they release all their liquid.
Do you remember which phone this was?
It was the Kyocera, evidence item 3.
Okay. So the one you described as a brick phone?
Correct.
And did you have to do anything to get that phone to work?
Yes, I took the back off, the battery was removed, and then I actually took the phone apart so the board of the phone and the entire phone could dry out.
Okay. Looking at your report, What is attachment F? And what phone does that go to?
Attachment F goes to the LG phone, and it contained two spreadsheets that detailed the call history and contacts for that phone.
Did it contain any graphic files?
Yes, graphic files I appended for review as attachment G.
Attachment G. And do you recall these being the graphic files that were inside of the phone?
Yes.
And do you ever use these phones to try and have some kind of identification of a phone?
Usually, you can find self-taken pictures, selfies,
Okay.
by the user of the phone.
And when you say selfie, looking at what is labeled 07301219118, is that what you would be referring to as a selfie?
Yes.
Going to the phone under EV3, what is attachment I?
It is two spreadsheets that contain contacts and SMS messages.
And attachment J?
Attachment J contained 51 graphic files that were stored on the phone.
And when you say stored on a phone, do you recall them being any selfies as you just explained before?
I believe those ones were just the default pictures.
When you say default pictures, we're talking about the different background settings
Correct.
that you can kind of log on the phone. And this is the phone that you stated was had urine on it,
Correct.
and the other one had blood.
I believe so, yes.
One moment, Your Honor.
Sure.
Thank you. I have nothing further at this time.
Thank you, Ms. Royster. We'll go off the record for a second. Do you imagine much, Mr. Shaughnessy?
Not a lot.
But more than...
Do we have to take a break now, or?
Yeah, if there are only one or two questions, we wouldn't take a break, but, so we'll go back.
Not much more, but probably like to take a break.
We'll go back on the record. Just to say, you remain obligated to return to the stand after this break in about 15 minutes. You're welcome to step down now.
Okay.
You remain on the record.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we're off the record. Let's say 5 after the break. Primary audio. Yeah. While you're waiting, check. Oh, absolutely. To write it down. Master, I'm watching my camera. I don't know. Let me go tap. You want to go tap? Sounds fine. Well, go and talk to her. Just talk to her.
Just checking the microphone, see if it's working. 1, 2, 3, 4.